Hello students, welcome to the class. In this video, we are going to look at the text of Unit 5 of Semester 4, which is a biography of Mother Teresa written by F.G. Herod. Now, this is a very short biographical essay and which includes life incidents in between some biographical essential details by the author. In this, he writes about the reasons behind Mother Teresa's work and also the nature of Mother Teresa's work, her struggles to continue her work, and her achievements in her work. He also talks about her critics and their allegations about her work. And there are some beautiful quotes by Mother Teresa herself to enlighten us on her work. The essay begins with a description of the city of Calcutta in the 1900s and the 1920s to 40s. Calcutta of that time was a very crowded city with lots of slums everywhere. Rudyard Kipling called the city of dreadful night, and even Jawaharlal Nehru called it as a nightmare city in the early 20th century. There were refugees from Pakistan and also from Bangladesh living in large numbers in Calcutta of that time. There were big slum areas, and nearly a million people were living on the pavements, on the roadside. There was hunger, suffering, and loneliness and disease everywhere. Now then he begins to talk about Mother Teresa's early life. Teresa was born in Yugoslavia. Of course, she had a different name when she was born, and it was in 1910. At the age of 12 in her native country, she decided to be a missionary, and at the age of 18, she decided to dedicate her whole life as a Catholic nun. She received her initial training at Dublin, Ireland, and then when she came to India, she was positioned as a geography teacher at St. Mary's High School in Kolkata. She later became its principal. Why did she choose social work? Now, beyond the good gardens of the high school where she was serving as a teacher, lied the huge areas of city slums. Mother was always, Teresa was always inclined to look at those slums, and she was worried that about the people living there, and she always thought that something should be done to them. And sometimes she even took her children, school children, to the slums to look at those people. There was always an inner desire in her to serve them. And in September 1946, while she was on a train journey, she felt that there was a strong call from God to her to serve the poor, and she decided to resign her work as a teacher and get into serve the poorest of the poor. It was very hard for her initially to get permission from the Catholic order or the mission. And once she finally got her permission, she went to Patna and she took a 6 months nursing course there. And after completion of that course, she straight away went to Kolkata to the slums. With only 5 rupees in her pocket and no home to go, she went to Kolkata to start her mission among the slum children. Her first work was in the slums of Kolkata. She visited home after home and asked them that they send their children for school. She begged for food for the starving in the slums, and she went to the people and asked them to provide medicines for the sick in the slums. She started a school with just 5 little children in a slum. And in the initial days, she didn't have a board even to write on, so she began to write the Bengali alphabet on the mud. The next day, a table and a chair were provided by somebody in the nearby place. And following day, a cupboard was given, and she started a little school. And thus began the care and education of thousands of neglected children in Kolkata. And Mother Teresa started a new mission which she called as Missionaries of Charity. And the first recruits to work alongside her were her former students whom she had taught in the slums. And all who joined her had to give up their lives completely to the work. It was said that Mother never took any volunteers because she felt that volunteers needed some time off for leisure, and there was no holidays in the mission work that they were actually involved in. And every day, every sister in the missionary of charity had to take 3 vows to dedicate themselves to living in poverty, in chastity, and also in obedience. There was also a fourth vow that each sister would take, that is, to give wholeheartedly free service to the poorest of the poor. A sister had to give up all her positions to work in the missionaries of charity. Once there was a young doctor who had completed doctoral studies with a gold medal, but that was not of any use for her when she was serving in the slums. So Mother told her to give back her gold medal, and the gold medal was written, and she resumed her work as a sister in the missionaries of charities. Every day they would rise up at 4 o'clock in the morning, and after 2 hours of prayer and worship, they would go out to work after a meal, and cleaning and washing of the whole area of the premises was done by the sisters themselves. They would go out after lunch also, and again they would return to the home by 7:30 at night. That was a lot of work every day in the life of every sister of missionaries of charity. She, not apart from the schools for the slum children, she started many other initiatives of social work. One big concern for her was about the dying, rejected people. She always thought that anybody who is dying should die with dignity. She started homes for dying destitutes, so that anybody who was dying could at least have somebody at the end of their life to love and take care of them. And now nearly 32 homes for dying destitutes are established in and around Kolkata. She also started homes for unwanted children and babies. In Kolkata of those times, one would usually find rejected babies in dustbins or sewers or doorsteps. And Mother actually started these orphanages or homes for unwanted children and babies, and nearly 28 were established by her. She also started leprosy clinics. Leprosy was a dreaded disease in those times, and people often were rejected from their homes, whether high or low caste. People, if contracted with the disease, were thrown out of the homes. She started leprosy clinics in and around Kolkata, and she established nearly 70 of them. She also established a leper colony where whole families of lepers could live and find work to do. She called it the place of peace. And at a place called the Thagarat Center, which she established, lepers were taught to weave cloth or make bandages and paper bags to earn some money. She also started a home for Bangladeshi women who were actually raped by soldiers during wartime. They were rejected from society and their own homes on account of that. There was much praise for her work. The Indian government gave her 34 acres of land and a large gift of money to run her work. She was also awarded the Nobel Peace Prize in 1979. There was also large-scale criticism of her work. She received threats for her life many times, and she often was faced insults. And many of her homes always had broken windows because of some stone pelting. She was criticized that her methods were old-fashioned, and some people even talked about her that she was not a social worker but only a religious maniac, making conversions of Hindus to Christians. She was even accused of selling babies, Indian babies, abroad. But nothing could take off her courage. Neither man or beast can actually deter her from following her work for the poorest of the poor. There are some life incidents recounted by the author in the essay. At the very beginning of the essay, we find a hospital scene where Teresa is actually carrying a wretched woman from the streets to a hospital. Her body is eaten by rats and mice. The hospital staff said they are overcrowded and did not give her a bed. But Mother Teresa stood there and said that she would not leave until they gave her a bed. They were surprised at the courage of this little woman, and they had to oblige and give a bed to that woman. Another incident is recounted where Mother started a home for the dying and rejected people near the Kali temple. Many people in and around the Kali temple made a complaint to the police officials that this woman is involved in religious conversions from Hindus to Christians. When the police people came to inspect, Mother was actually treating a person filled with wounds and sores, and there was very dirty smell coming around. And the police inspector asked her, "What is this smell?" And she said, "The smell is nothing compared to the pain that this man is bearing." And the inspector goes back and then he said to the people who complained that if only your mothers or sisters could do such work, I will just push that woman out of this place. And one day, the priest of the Kali temple himself was rejected because he was dying with some horrible disease. And it was Teresa who took that priest into the home and treated him. And the complaint stopped. And there was also an incident recorded where Sister Agnes, one of Teresa's companions, was worried that a vast number of patients had to be fed and they had nothing to serve them. But then Mother comes to her and says that isn't God who is actually looking care of them, looking after them? So she should not worry. He will provide for the patients and the children. That recounted the immense faith that she had in God. And many people would actually find Mother Teresa in Kolkata doing some sort of a work with the poorest of the poor. When there was floods and there was many people were drowning in the overflowing canals and sewers, she would go down knee deep wading in the water to rescue somebody. Or when there was an angry bull about to charge on a group of lepers she was taking care of, she with her bare hands started facing that angry bull. So there are some life values that we can get through this essay. One is that she had a deep concern for the left out of the society, the lepers, the dying, the unwanted orphans, or the rejected and the abused people. And she dedicated her life to live for the poorest of the poor, the slum dwellers, the lepers, etc. And she was never deterred by the opposition or criticism, but she always continued her work in spite of what others might think of her. She never wanted comforts or riches. And when the Pope gifted her a big white car, she promptly sold it and sent the money to the mission. And when she was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize with 90,000 pounds as a gift of money, she promptly put that into all of her leprosy work. Neither riches or comforts would actually make her take some rest. She said that while serving the poor, she would see Christ in their sufferings. She had complete faith in God and she never expected anything from people and she never demanded anything for her service. She was a small woman, very soft spoken, but yet of immense courage. These are some quotes of Mother Teresa. Every day is a holiday. Unless we are poor, we cannot understand and serve the poor. Here in the slums, in the broken body, in the children, we see Christ and we touch Him. Being unwanted is the worst disease that anyone can suffer from. No child is ever turned away. We always have one more bed. For 27 years, God has fed us all without any income of our own. Write about the work here, not about me. I'm not important, she said to the author. If you have any questions regarding this text, you can approach us in the details given. Thank you for watching the video. Have a good day.